Yeah. Alright, man, so a few videos back, I bought a Dodge Magnum. 2005 Dodge Magnum. We headed back down here now so we can talk about it. I can give y'all more details on it, how much I paid for it, the works, man, just everything, the platform. I think I pretty much decided on the platform. We're gonna talk about all that once I get down there. But on the way down there, we're gonna talk about a few things that need to be addressed. While this thing is warming up, I got to say this: God is everything. Without God, I'm nothing. All right, man, we are out and about, man. So let's talk about a few details before we get down here to the car, right? So, quick backstory on this car, right? Back in high school, I wanted to be a mechanic, right? I thought I wanted to be a mechanic. I had a cousin, my first cousin, he worked on cars, and my daddy used to take me to the racetrack, man, and it sparked that love for cars in me. So ever since I was little, man, I always wanted remote control cars, blah, blah, blah. Like, I always wanted to go fast. And drag racing used to be that love for me. Like, the full drag racing was that love for me back in the day. As I got older, I started to just say, I don't really know if I want to drag race, because it's just like straight line and it's like super fast and that's it. As I got older, I started to fall in love with just a nice street car that could do both. That you could take to the track, have some fun. Even if you could take a street car down there and stand it up on the back bumper and drive it back home. That's what I kind of started to fall in love with, instead of like the full like drag car. So that love came in, and that Magnum was down at the shop, right? It had a 2.5 liter in it, and I know my cousin used to always talk about how those 2.7 was a piece of jumps. This was 2011 maybe, and the car was already down there. I was so fascinated by this car, and before I get there, before all that happened, let me go back a little bit more. I had a first cousin, he had a blue Dodge Magnum. I don't know what engine he had in his, but I think he might have had a 3.5 or 2.7, I don't know. He had rims on it, he had beat in it. And man, oh my God, bro, I was so in love with that car. Like, I was like, bro, I got to get me one of these. This got to be my first car. I was so in love with the Dodge Magnums. And this was, man, I don't know what year this was, but I was still in school at this time. So when I saw this Magnum down here, I said, okay, this is my opportunity to get a Magnum. At this time, they wanted a lot of money for it, and it was way more money than the dude in 11th grade, 12th grade had at the time. So I had to just say, okay, I ain't gonna be able to get that car. That's over with. So I said, by the time I graduate, get me a job, maybe I can find me a Magnum. So I graduated in like 2013, and I was like, can I get a Magnum? Around that time, I then saw somebody with a clean Challenger, and I immediately fell in love with the Challenger. And the Magnum, they stopped making the Magnum in like 08, so I fell out of love with the Magnums. I'm like, oh man, come on, man. So they stopped making them, and this was 2013. So at that point, the Magnum were old, and I'm like, bro, I don't know if I want nothing that old, blah blah blah. I'm like, whatever I get, it got to have a Hemi in it. I still liked the Magnum though. So in like 2017, I ended up with a Challenger. Still kind of wanted that Magnum. I still went down there and I saw it, and I was still opening all the doors up on it, just checking the condition on it. I think one point in time, you know, I might have mentioned it to my cousin, and I can't remember what it was, but it was still way more money than what I wanted at the time, or what I wanted to spend at the time. And I was just like, oh man, I ain't really studying that car, man. And I think I might have asked somebody, how much work would it be to put that engine to put a Hemi engine into that car? And they was like, yeah man, it's probably gonna be a lot of work. You probably come out cheaper just going to buy one. So once again, I was like, hey, I ain't worried about it, bump that car. And it sat down there a bit longer, sat down there. So at this point, I got Iron Man, I got Coco, I got Smoke, which is a Challenger, I got my Honda, which is my daily driver, and I got Foxy. So I got 5 cars right now speaking. I'm like, man, I do not need another car. So I was like, man, for the channel, which I got plenty of cars for the channel. But I just thought a wagon would be a cool car for the channel. And everything else I got is two-door. My Honda's two-door, Iron Man is two-door, my El Camino is two-door, my Mustang is two-door, this car is two-door. Everything I have is two-door. I'm like, okay, I might get the Magnum, which I know the Magnum gonna be a long process. But I was still like, man, I could get that Magnum and turn that thing into a bad, nice project car, right? So a few platforms came to mind. I gotta be honest, how wide the Coyotes are, I was like, yeah, the Coyote might not be a platform I consider, just because I'm not sure if it'll fit in that engine bay. Now I know that the Hemis are wide too. They got those big wide Hemi heads. I know they pretty big blocks too, but I think the Coyotes may be wider than the Hemis. So I kept thinking about it, and then let's just say hypothetically some money fell into my lap from some old camera equipment I had laying around. So I said, man, I'm gonna go take this camera equipment up there. And I paid thousands of dollars for this equipment, but this is years later. And I'm like, if I get rid of this equipment, I might just buy that Magnum and just so that I got it, right? So sold it, ended up getting enough. I told my cousin, I said, hey, this is what I want to offer them $500 to begin with, because like I said, this car been sitting for years, man. I mean, years. The rats probably had their way with this car. And I ended up spending a bit more than I wanted to, but this was like my max dollar is what they countered back with. And I was like, man, look, I don't even want to keep going back and forth trying to counter. I just get it. So I text my cousin, blah blah blah. Went and bought it, got the title, everything to the car. And here we are now. We're up to date. I've always loved Magnums though. And recently I had been seeing a lot of videos of the guys doing the front end conversions on these cars. I seen a whole bunch of Charger conversions. And I seen a few Challenger conversions. Just a few Challenger conversions. I was like, I like Challengers. Matter of fact, I like the Challengers over the Charger, but that's neither here nor there. But I said, man, I would like to do a Challenger, wide body Challenger conversion on this car. So there go a piece of the Pulls right there for you. But let's get back to the platforms. Platforms were a Coyote, and it was obviously a Hellcat engine. I didn't want to go 5.7 or 6.4. This was the platform I wanted to go boost. So, man, I said, hey, this gonna be boosted. And I also wanted it to chop. So then that took the Coyotes out. And then I said, okay, well, we got the small block 4s. I was like, I really don't want to go that old, So then it broke down to a Hellcat platform or a LS platform. And I know they said the LS7s are not the best platform for boost. They said if you want to go aluminum block, LS platform, the best way to go was LS3. So I said, okay, let's consider LS3. I looked at it and looked into it, and they also said you can do I want this to be a big cubic inch boosted engine. But man, look, hold on, we almost down here, man. Once I get down here, we're gonna get to the car and we're gonna talk about this just a bit more once I pull in and get parked and everything. So I'm almost down here. Holler back at y'all in just a second. All right, man, so let me introduce y'all to the Meat Wagon. That is the official name for this thing. I ain't changing it, but this is the Meat Wagon, my 2005 Dodge Magnum. In a previous video, I told y'all I got a 2.7 in it, but we was talking about platforms, right? So I said I want this thing to be long, I want it to be reliable, I want it to be 1,000 horsepower plus to the wheels, and I want to be able to like drive this thing wherever I want to drive it at. So it came down to two platforms, like I said before, the LS platform or a Hellcat platform. And I want this thing to be cammed. I want it to be real choppy. When I say choppy, I mean like choppy, rocking the car choppy. And came down to, I want this thing to be stick shift. A big long stick shift wagon would be like, it'll be crazy. It'll be like the CTSV wagons, man. It will be crazy. So that's what we got. Like I said, this thing is called the Meat Wagon. The Meat Wagon. This was the idea I came up with, or me and my wife came up with, because it's long like a hearse. And I Googled, I was like, what's another name for a hearse? It said Meat Wagon. I said, boom, that's it. So this is the meat wagon. These wheels are coming off. It's gonna be a lot of stuff that's gonna look different. Like I said, the front end is gonna be a Challenger wide body. But I know some kind of way you have to cut these fenders up, make them still match up with the doors, blah, blah, blah. So there's some stuff that I'm gonna have to figure out. Let me get y'all to the back. Let's talk about the back. The back of this thing, man, I seen that the Chargers, people been putting the Charger back bumpers on this thing where they had the scoops on them. Y'all know I'm talking about, the wide body Charger. These things already kind of got a wide body effect to them, is kind of what I noted, but I wanted to be super wide. I wanted to be like really wide. And this thing getting dropped, and it already got a little bit of a wing on it, but maybe we might try to manipulate this wing just a little bit to make it look a bit more, just out just a little bit more. Another thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to see what SUV I can get a roof out of to put me like a nice roof that'll go from like here to like here, all the way to like the back, like out of some SUV, or you know, the cars have the long roofs. So it's gonna be a glass roof. I thought about trying to see if a Challenger's back light bar would go, but then I realized the issue gonna come in over here, because that Challenger light is probably about that much more longer. So we probably gonna leave that alone. I might not even try to do that one. What else? So let me go ahead and be straight up and honest with y'all. This thing is probably gonna be a Pro Charged LS3, or it may end up being a 6.0 block, just depending on how my pocket goes. But I want to make this thing in between 408 and 416 cubic inches. Pro Charged, because I want this thing to like make 1,000 horses, barely, you know what I'm saying, barely making any boost. So I want this thing to make 1,000 horses and still be like a nice, reliable stick shift car. And I know with it being stick shift, we're gonna run into two problems. Well, one problem, but one thing is gonna be a benefit. The one problem is gonna be a stick shift holding 1,000 horses, and I know there's a lot of, you know, TR66s that's doing it like it ain't nothing. So yeah, TR6060. But the benefit is gonna be, even if I make a lot of horses, you know, the issue what you have with an automatic is you have to run that big stall in them when you go crazy with the cam and all this and that. Now, I don't want to be too crazy. That's the reason why I'm going so big on the cubic inches. But you know, that with a nice Pro Charger should easily make 1,000 horses to the wheels and still be stick shift. But let me move y'all into the interior so we can talk about what's going to be changed in the interior. All right, man. So if you've ever been inside of one of these Chargers, I said Charger. Basically, that's basically what it is. If you've ever been inside of one of these Magnums, the interior isn't that bad. Let's just be honest. The interior itself isn't that bad. But if you've seen this steering wheel, let me get y'all in here so I can show you. All right, so I got y'all in here. Let me bring y'all back up so y'all can see this steering wheel. I'm darkening y'all, hold on. This steering wheel is the most ugliest, hideous thing I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely hate these old Dodge steering wheels. They are the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. The interior itself doesn't look that outdated. Is it outdated? Yes, but this steering wheel change alone would make me like this car a lot better. Now, interior, what do I want to do? I want to change out the door panels, make them Charger door panels. I know they don't go directly on, but the dash is a direct bolt in from what I understand. Find a Challenger console, already set up for a stick shift. Challenger console and some nice seats out of a Charger. So a Charger or Challenger dash, Challenger console, Charger front and back seats, or we're gonna figure something out to make the to make the seats work. I don't know if these are loose or what. They might be loose. I don't know, but they move. Y'all see that whole handle move. We'll have to figure that out. Anyway, as y'all can see, the rats have had their way, and yeah, That's what we got. So back here, I don't plan on putting no kind of music in it or nothing. I just want this thing to sound really good. Bring y'all back down. I just want this thing to sound really good. But I don't want nothing crazy. Nothing crazy other than the engine. I want the interior to sound really good though. I do want the sound system to sound really good. Man, I think that's gonna be about it, man. Wide body, probably gonna do OEM wide body wheels. The color, let's talk about the color. Let me put y'all back up so we can talk about the color. I want to argue that I probably overpaid for this car. I probably overpaid for it. I don't know if I told y'all, but I got this car for $1,000. We agreed on $1,000, and I probably overpaid for it, but I wanted this specific car. Like I said, when I worked down here, this specific car was what I wanted. Not sure why. I probably could have found a better deal on one that was running and probably paid a couple $100 more, but like I said, this was a personal buy. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we have personal stuff that we spend money on, and some people might say, I want to pay that much money for it. Yeah, I probably overpaid, but it is what it is. It's for the channel. That's what we got. So I think I've covered everything other than the color. Let's chat about the color. The color were in between three colors. And I'm gonna put y'all some images up here that I got in my phone. The first color that I thought I was gonna do was the gray. I think it's, I don't know, it's like a matte gray. I don't know the exact name, maybe Destroyer gray or something. The next color was that blue that I seen on the Chargers. I'm not sure what's the name of the color, but it's like a darker blue. As y'all know, I couldn't go B5 blue because the El Camino gonna be B5 blue. I don't need two cars the same color. So the darker blue that they put on the Chargers was an option. And very lastly was a color that they used, I don't know what year it was, but it was called Plum Crazy Purple. And I figured to throw people off, I would say I was gonna go Plum Crazy Purple. I was like, man, that purple would be crazy in the fleet. Cause Iron Man is gonna end up being blue. As y'all know, I got a great Challenger. The Mustang is gonna be a shade of blue. I don't know, it's like a mix in between blue and another color. What else do I got in the fleet? If you want to talk about my Honda, it's burgundy. Iron Man is gonna be red, obviously. The El Camino gonna be B5 blue. I mean, come crazy with this and go purple. The meat wagon, man. But let me formally introduce y'all to the meat wagon, man. A lot of good things coming. We're supposed to be trying to get this thing towed to the house real soon. Being honest, the only goal is to try to get this thing running. Now, not running good, I'm not trying to drive it, but just running to where if I need to move it, if it's in the way, or if I want to pull it into the shop to start on the front end or something on it, I can do that. I can pull it in and move it and do what I need to do. It may be skipping like school children, but that part don't matter. I just want to get this thing running and moving, and that's all I need to do for now. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like the video, subscribe, and look for another video that's gonna be right there. I'm gonna leave it right there. This is what YouTube is suggesting for y'all, so click that video and go watch it.